Good morning, Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, and all of America. I'm Dr. Barbara Schneider here on Radio Free America. We are live. It is Saturday, April 2nd, 2022, and I'm here due to the generosity and technical expertise of Dr. Michael Kachmar, who's here running the show today.
Hello, everyone. Go ahead.
Jeremy is across the pond visiting his ailing father. He would have chimed in today, but he's jet lagged. We all know what that's like. So it'll be us two old docs running this show.
Yep. That's great.
So as usual, I would like to start by plugging our local businesses. The reason for that is if we're going to take America back, we have to start at the local level. And small business is the backbone of the United States economy. We were hit badly with the mismanagement of the pandemic, and we have to support our small businesses. So the first one, as always, is TSF Disposal. This is for dumpsters. You've got garbage, he's got a can. Most of the cans are lime green, but there is one blue and one pink. The reason you should use TSF Disposal is that there are no hidden fees. You might think you're getting a cheaper dumpster elsewhere, but at the end, they sock you with hidden fees. The only variable is the weight. Lakeside Diner, Brian Brandisi stood up to King Philip. It's a great little place. Patronize them. There will be a rally at the end of this month for Mike Blasey, who's running in the 4th District against Chris Smith. What do I have against Chris Smith? He supported the fake infrastructure bill. No Republican or so-called Republican should support any Democratic bill. They don't support anything from the Republicans. We are unable to stop any of the illegal leftist crippling bills because Republicans jump ship. No Democrat ever jumps ship. Chris Smith has to go. Frank and Maria's on Fisher Boulevard for hair needs. Allure Salon on Route 37 for all beauty needs. C&G Country Cafe, 2 locations, and Toms River Heating and Air Conditioning. That's the Petty family. Ken's Hardware. They've got what you need. You don't need to go to those big stores that have robbed little people blind. Brooklyn Bistro, a great neighborhood restaurant. The girls and I go there every month. Red Rose Bakery, they will make you fat, but the baked goods and bread are to die for. And when you're done with Red Rose Bakery, go over to Attila's Gym in Belmore, that's M-A-W-R, not our Belmar here, and work out. Now, some of you might have heard about some problems that Ian Smith had last week. On Saturday, he had his official announcement to run in the primary in District 3 to hopefully defeat Andy Kim, that Pelosi pod. Coincidentally, as he was leaving the rally, he was pulled over for a DWI, or DUI as they say. Now, does anybody here believe in coincidence? So why is this a coincidence? Because Ian Smith has been speaking out against rhinos and specifically Dan Crenshaw, the eye patch congressman, who's been having lunch with Soros's son over the past few months. So if you don't think that there can be influence extended, because I find it highly coincidental that all of a sudden Ian Smith is pulled over after his rally. If you recall, he's on probation for running a business under King Philip. He runs Attila's Gym with his partner, Frank. There hasn't been a single case of COVID out of that gym, and yet they closed him down, padlocked his doors, instituted draconian measures, cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees, arrested him, put him on probation for what? They must be awfully afraid of this guy. Andy Kim has $3 million in his reelection campaign. How is that possible unless he's got Chinese money and dirty Democrat money?
Can I just let you know, I
Sure.
have the captions there for you, so I just
Oh.
want you to see. So, because Jeremy would usually tell you, I just want
Okay.
to so you can see him there. Just
Oh, my barber babes are up. Hello, everybody. So good morning. Good morning. Oh, you were at Lakeside. Yes, it's great. It's great. And Brian is great too. And we have to patronize those places. Good morning, Shawnee. So I've been a little remiss, but I have my first quote of the day from Ephesians 6:12. For we do not wrestle against the flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. How appropriate for today. So, I want to begin with the Russia versus Ukraine situation. Because you can't get a straight story. First of all, is Biden compromised? So his son was on the board of Burisma, of a corrupt oil company in Ukraine. He was paid $83,000 a month, and according to the contents of Hunter's laptop, which was yesterday introduced into the official record in Congress, Biden got half of that money. That's $41,000 a month. He threatened the prosecutor in Ukraine and threatened him, and the prosecutor was fired. Biden is compromised. He cannot be our president. When are the Republicans going to do something? They can do something and the Democrats jump ship, but not one Democrat has jumped ship because they all are corrupt. He says he's put sanctions against Russia. That's another thing. His son received $3.5 million from an oligarch. He hasn't moved against the oligarchs. He hasn't grabbed Putin's yacht, which is worth $750 million. Sanctions against Russia don't kick in till June. So he is a phony. He's refusing to produce fossil fuels in this country. Let me tell you, even electricity has to be started with fossil fuels. This guy is succumbing to the leftists who want the Great Reset. China and Russia allowed to pollute the air with dirty coal and oil, but America, that had the cleanest coal, oil, and natural gas in the world, is being oppressed by Biden and others who are committed to the destruction of our great country. So guess what? The United States ran biolabs in the Ukraine. The United States has funded the Nazi battalion in Western Ukraine after accusing Trump and Trump supporters of being Nazis. The US is using Russia to detract from Biden's activities in the US. Joe Biden was not duly elected. He is not our president. Election fraud is being exposed in Wisconsin. In Arizona, the Attorney General is suing the Arizona Secretary of State for election fraud. The state-controlled media continues to push disinformation, labeling the Nazi ideology as far right to distract reality and brainwash their loyal sheep. Then they turn around and demand that the sheep defend and fund a Nazi battalion in the Ukraine. And Trump supporters are Nazis? Are you kidding me? The left are Nazi supporters using our tax dollars to fund this. President Diaper wants to send our military there. Are you kidding me? Andy Kim will vote yes. Crenshaw, Pelosi, Smith will vote yes. Ian Smith will vote no. I can tell you that. He's not going to be taken for a ride. He's already been taken for a ride. Putin's invasion might have been to expose the biolabs and expose the Nazis. We don't know what's really going on. So let's discuss for a minute that Nazi battalion in Ukraine. The origin, he's got everyone fooled. Gas might have dropped a few cents, but diesel hasn't dropped and everything runs off a diesel engine. Yeah, how about that?
All your trucking.
Those wind turbines?
Yeah.
How do you start a wind turbine? You need diesel fuel.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just corrupt. But I want to talk about the Nazi battalion in Ukraine. The origin of the Nazis in West Ukraine are the German Nazis after World War II who were resettled in Western Ukraine with the help of the United States. Before and during World War II, the Nazis used mass censorship, media control, propaganda, mass surveillance, mass human medical experimentation. They implemented government centralized and controlled schools, medicine, media, entertainment, food production, and energy production. This is literally the modern day left-wing agenda. So you see who they learned it from? They want to control what your kids learn, what medical procedures you take, what pathogens are released, what news you consume, what shows you watch, what food you eat, what energy capabilities you have. Now, doesn't that sound familiar? So let's go to Hunter's laptop computer. I understand there's a Fox News program that details the contents of the laptop. There's also the book by Miranda Devine, Laptop from Hell, in which he chronicles the deposits, the money, the kickback to his father. I mean, his father really pimped him out to make money on this kind of stuff. They had merged checking accounts. Joe's bills were paid from the joint checking account with his son that was funded by Russia, Ukraine, China. So when the contents of the laptop came about, even though it was suppressed by the FBI, the New York Post ran the story of what was in the laptop. And big tech suppressed the New York Post article by banning them from Facebook, Google, Twitter, all that stuff. In a recent article, we find out that Bill Barr, Trump's attorney general, knew about this. In response to the laptop, 51 former CIA officials wrote and signed a letter saying that the laptop was Russian disinformation. So Bill Barr knew that the letter was a lie. He knew about the election fraud. He refused to speak up. He is complicit in the theft of the 2020 election, in the installment of President Diaper as our chief executive. I hope he's really happy with the mess America is in because of Biden and the lefties. And that's why I cannot stress enough the importance of the upcoming 22 election. Rest assured, they will try to pull more election fraud. With respect to the Ian Smith thing, I read some of the hate comments that were delivered to him for standing up for being an American. And is he a perfect man? No. Pelosi, She's worth $350 million because her husband has a business in China and they do insider trading. Crenshaw has been bought by Soros. I'm sure Chris Smith received some kind of a kickback to vote for the infrastructure bill, 9% of which goes for infrastructure, 91% to pork. And Ian Smith was convicted for running his gym, not giving in to King Philip, and now they're with a phony DUI. And is this reality? And honestly, so my second quote of the day is from John 8:7. And Jesus said, "He that is without sin among you, let him cast the first stone." So all those people who knocked Ian Smith, I want to see how pure you are, because nobody is pure.
No. Okay, I just want to.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I want to make a point here because we got this. This is disinformation and malinformation. I just want to throw this out, Barbara, because I know you're. I just can't sit here and I love this topic. So I was just watching and listening to War Room with Steve Banning.
Oh yeah.
So there's a new movie coming out, and it's profiling how Zuckerberg and Facebook spent about $400 million influencing the election. And here's the key. You could have people who these super PACs, and one individual who is making this film was pushed for the super PACs. So a super PAC basically, could get as much money as they want and help to influence by advertising a candidate. But what Zuckerberg did and the other media is they did something different. They took their money and went in to the election. They bought the boxes. They
harvested ballots.
But instead of just paying money to advertise, they actually paid money to manipulate an election. Never happened before. So this is very interesting. And this movie is profiling how that money went. And people should be watching it. So they actually manipulated, not just paid money to advertise. And it was assassination of Trump, but they manipulated the
right. Because he exposed the corruption. And the only issue I have with what you said is that I believe Zuckerberg spent more, because now we know that in Wisconsin alone, he spent $330 million, and he was involved in all the other states.
Yeah.
So I think it was much more than 400 million. I think that he spent whatever he could, because this wasn't a vote for Biden. It was a vote against Trump, because Trump was exposing the deep state. Was Trump perfect? Well, let's go back to John 8.7.
Right.
No, he wasn't, but he wasn't corrupt.
No, and it's funny. I was just talking to a friend of mine. I don't know if you noticed, but Roger Stone, was it? They just he was in locally here. They've been talking about this for a long time, how this was an assassination, and somebody just put here a bloodless assassination. I like this. This is coming up here. So it's very true. But this movie is just being profiled and aired, premiered at Mar-a-Lago, I think yesterday or today.
Really?
So, and it's going to come out. I think I really wasn't prepared. I don't know the name of it, but people should really look at it. So it's a really in-depth dive into how this money influenced the election.
Well,
and this is not fraud. This is not fraud. This is
they bought it.
They bought it. Yeah.
And in addition to the more than 400 million, because I really think it was closer to $1 billion. But what does Zuckerberg care? He's got, it's like us spending $10 on something.
Oh, that's Jeremy. I'm sorry. That's Jeremy kicking in.
Hi, Jeremy.
Oh, it's me, Jeremy. I'm sorry, Barbara, to interrupt you, but
how great.
Because that's why it's coming on your Facebook.
Oh, that's so great, because I can't do any of that stuff.
Anyway, let's get here. Here it is. Let me see. Yes, Catchmar. Here it is. Yes, that your people should be outraged that social media manipulates their minds.
Yes.
That's great. That's great.
Because
that's your son. Right.
Yes, because now we know they got it from the Nazis. So we get to, and the right, the left, it's all a label. It's control and power. So the people in power want the Great Reset. And what is a Great Reset? Global depopulation, a small, powerful ruling class, the rest of us slaves. We won't own anything. We'll be happy. We rent everything. We'll live in communal homes with communal bathrooms and kitchens. We'll share cars. But we, the people, must give them the great awakening. We have to restore sanity to this country. I mean, what's going on is insane. For example, the trans swimmer Leah Thomas. She's breaking all women's swimming records and displacing women in women's sports. And I have fought for women's rights for all my life. So we are supposed to ignore her jock strap and lower anterior protuberance, commonly known as a dick and balls.
They said they photoshopped that in some of the photographs.
Yes,
They had to get rid of it.
They had to Photoshop it. You know, it's really hard on a man that size to hide.
But Barbara,
sorry.
our age, we get to the point where like you young people out there, you guys drank the Kool-Aid. I mean, and it's like even 40-year-old, like 20, 30, 40-year-old, they're like, oh, this is fine. This is okay. I'm like, this is not reality. They lost,
Right.
oh
So
my
that
God.
brings me
Go ahead. I'm
to
sorry.
the third quote of the day, right up your alley. Here's the quote. If they can make you believe something you know is untrue, they've won. They control your brain. And that is Tucker Carlson, who was censored or taken down from Twitter because he referred to a biological man as a man. So, COVID-19. Recently released data, I think yesterday or the day before, what each hospital made per person in each state. Now, in Minnesota, every hospitalized COVID patient netted the hospital or made the hospital $380,000. In almost every state in the union, it is between $200,000 and $300,000. However, in New Jersey, they're claiming they only made $18,000 per patient. Now, that's a complete and utter lie. We know that each patient who was admitted made the hospital at least $100,000. So why are these federal data protecting New Jersey, Connecticut, New York, and Pennsylvania? That's because they're getting free stuff, but they don't realize what that free stuff is going to cost them. It's going to cost them all of their freedom. Yeah. So this is the, how do I do this?
Right there.
Right
now
there.
Go a little bit right there. There's the camera there.
Oh, okay. So this is the list that came out. It's on, you can get it off the computer.
Do that again. Put it real close there. Now it'll come up.
Okay.
I had to press the button. Yeah, there you go. That's
There.
really good. Good picture, Barb.
And that's on Telegram. It was released from HHS, and it is untrue. So Pfizer, of course, is calling for a fourth booster for Omicron. And the people who are getting infected have all been vaccinated. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I've been saying it for a long time. No one should get it. It needs to be recalled. They talk about mRNA technology. We know that it is converting itself into DNA, going into your cells and altering your DNA. The mRNA technology that Malone developed in the late 80s was actually supposed to cure disease. There are some genetic abnormalities that can be isolated, and if we can replace the faulty genes and the faulty DNA, we can cure those people. So the original intent was pure, but the bad guys found a way to distort it and maybe create hackable humans. I saw Sean's comment. You're going to identify as a woman, not happening. Okay. So what I found really, really interesting is that this past week, the New York Times just warned the world, quote, America has a free speech problem. Are you kidding me? It is the New York Times that censored the book, The Real Anthony Fauci by RFK Jr. And by the way, I think that book should be required reading.
Mm-hmm.
It is an expose that is highly researched and highly documented about Fauci, Big Pharma, Big Food, Bill Gates, and the conspiracy against America. Our kids are unhealthy because of Tony Fauci. The incidence of autism has gone from 1 to 2 in 10,000 to 1 in 34. Our kids have allergies, autoimmune diseases, and obesity because of the vaccines. They're supposed to get 69 vaccines. I've lost all count. And Big Food has allowed your kids to become addicted to the sugar and corn syrup in foods. Our kids aren't going out to play. They're staying in to exercise their thumbs on phones. And Fauci is guilty. And the New York Times, not only did they censor the book, they refused to review it. They refused to advertise it. They refused to say that it was number one on the bestseller list because they didn't want to promote it. It was a very difficult book to get. I finally got it. I have to admit, it took me a while to read it because I became nauseous every couple of chapters with what an alleged doctor did to our country.
And Barbara, I want to throw something out at that because I have that book and I'm finishing it up, and another one I'm just finishing up. Yeah, I just finished up too. Victor Davis Hanson. It's called The Dying Citizen, which is another great book, and I can't believe how many people in the military went after Trump. It's really amazing. But talking about Fauci, we're old enough to remember what the debacle he did with the AIDS virus.
Yes.
And I don't, I just want to, I don't know if you, but I could tell you, he should have got locked up then.
I was in the South Bronx as a doctor then. And please go on.
No, well, when we did a little research about that, we did a show on that way back when, and there was two things. I remember we didn't know that, we knew there was some kind of thing going on in the blood, and so there was no way to test the blood. So the blood would still be given out, and they supposedly, Fauci and that group had the testing material, but they held it off for about 6 months because of, copyright and patent infringement, all that, and to make money. The other thing that came out too is that there was medication out there. Same thing like now. Same thing with the, I can't use the words because we'll be thrown off. But the alternatives. Correct. But we can say the multi-drug sequential monoclonal antibodies, which really work, and this government pulled the plug on it. Yes. It was, it's nowhere to be found anymore. But they had medications just like that, and they pulled the plug on it because they wanted to push their, agenda. Anyway, I just want to throw that at you. But that's something. So it's not. This is the second time the guy's biting the apple.
Yes.
A metaphor from the Old Testament, by the way.
The other thing, the New York Times then ran a hit piece on RFK Jr. He's not responsible for other things in his family. He's a lawyer who looks out for children. So the New York Times also jumped on the bandwagon of denigration when doctors Robert Malone, Judy Mikovits, Pierre Corey, Paul Masick, Ryan Cole, and others were being censored for alternative treatments to what. And because of institutions like the New York Times, there's no debate, there's no public discourse, and we have lost the ability to resolve conflict. Yes, exactly.
Don't say the words. Don't say the words.
Don't say the words.
I got bumped for that. So
The forbidden words. It had more than 4 letters.
yeah, you can say the other words. Excuse me, go ahead.
So the New York Times also participated in the fraud and election theft of 2020, which has left this country weak, debilitated, with an open border. We're not energy independent. We are a mess because of this traitor in the White House who commits treason on a daily basis. So, what else about the Francine? The VAERS report came out last week. VAERS, that's the adverse reporting system, the virus adverse reporting system, which is highly underutilized, between 50 and 100% underutilized. And they are reporting 1 million adverse events and 24,000 deaths. Now, if it's 50% inaccurate, we've got like 2.4 million deaths.
No, it's nothing for you, Bob.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We have more than 2 million deaths out there from the Francine. It's being hidden. We're being lied to. We know that in the state of Israel, we know from the Orthodox community that the undertakers can't keep up with the deaths. We have Dr. Teresa Long of the military, who's a whistleblower. She disclosed the complications from the Francine. She's in court. She's trying to get an injunction. They did get an injunction, but our woke Supreme Court hasn't upheld it. She is the one who is grounding pilots because of cardiac events, including cardiac arrest. And when it comes to the next booster, the 4th booster, I have another picture for you. The sheep going to the Pfizer.
Oh, that's that speaks volumes, right there. There's the old, a picture speaks 1,000 words, right?
Yes. Yeah. So this is a killer pen. For all you people who don't know, and I do horse rescue, and specifically standard breds, because there are certain people who work them to death and then sell them for meat. And standard breds are lovely, gentle horses. And when they're in the killer pens, they smell the blood and they start screaming in fear. Y'all you probably remember the Silence of the Lambs. And that was because the sheep in the killer pens were screaming because of the scent of blood. And these are sheep in a killer pen going to the Pfizer lab for another booster. These boosters, these drugs cause transhumanism. They will transform you into something you are not. That is so that artificial intelligence can hack you.
Oh, that's a dog. Oh, sorry about that.
You become a hackable human.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a pity that doctors have been persuaded to betray their patients by forcing the vaccine on them and not discussing the risks. My hat off to Dr. Teresa Long for being a whistleblower, and probably she needs protection. The problem is that the medical community was corrupted long ago and dumbed down. I've often spoken about this. The few of us left in private practice who know how to practice medicine see what's going on. Yeah, I saw that blurb about the New England Medical Journal and IVM.
Yeah, it was about evidence-based medicine, and it's
evidence-based medicine is a complete lie. The medical societies and the medical journals are controlled by big pharma. Every journal receives at least 80% of funding from big pharma. They will report what they're told to report. You cannot no longer believe the medical journals. You can no longer.
Sorry about that. I didn't want to put that up there. That's
You,
yeah.
you can't even believe your doctor if he or she is employed. They give you orders, they don't give you options. It happened in breast cancer. It's happening now in breast cancer. And that's how I was early on to figure out that it was happening with the Francine.
And, and Barbara, I just want to say one thing because people may think that you're on this bandwagon about breast cancer and how the medical community is going for the money. I'm a foot and ankle surgeon, and we do this bunion procedures, and there's one that came out and about in the 40s, and it was called the Lapidus, where they actually fuse. I don't want to get technical, but they fuse the metatarsal cuneiform joint, so it's a fusion of a joint. And in the American Journal of Foot and Ankle Surgeons came out in 1996 and said it's a bad procedure. It should only be done if there's severe arthritis. It's a very limited place where that should be done.
Okay.
Now what happens is these pharma companies, this one company in particular, resurrected it. They have all this equipment. When you do the procedure, they get about 5 to 10,000 per procedure. The hospital has to buy all this equipment. I've seen so many people that come into my office who have this, who are crippled. Every medical school is pushing it. Everybody's on the take on this. They're making, they're lecturing to the,
Wow.
and I can tell you right now, I could tell, I'll put my reputation on the line on that one. I know what it is, and I could do a procedure where it gets the same outcomes and with one $6 pin that I pull out in 6 weeks. So my point is that every specialty knows this is happening. You can see it across the board. And
well, thank you for saying that. I know I get on my bandwagon.
no.
But I am so enraged that cure has become a 4-letter word.
We're going to put we want doctors out there who have listened to the show to come on our show or email us and tell us about in your specialty where you see pharma or big companies pushing a product that we know is totally bullcrap, hurting people. But because they're making the money, I mean, it's happening all across the board.
And I've often invited doctors who disagree with me to call in and argue with me. Guess what? I haven't gotten a single phone call. Isn't that amazing? And by the way, we do have a phone here at 732-237-4949. So all you doctors that think we don't know what we're talking about, give us a call. Give us your name. Put your reputation on the line. So Dr. Robert Malone in Rome is instituting the Global COVID Summit Declaration. So this is what it says. It's for doctors and scientists. And it says, we, the physicians of the world, united and loyal to the Hippocratic Oath, recognizing the profession of medicine as we know it is at a crossroads, are compelled to declare the following. Whereas it is our utmost responsibility and duty to uphold and restore the dignity and integrity, art and science of medicine. Whereas there is an unprecedented assault on our ability to care for our patients. Whereas public policymakers have chosen to force a one-size-fits-all treatment strategy resulting in needless illness and death, rather than upholding fundamental concepts of the individualized, personalized approach to patient care, which is proven to be safe and more effective. Remember when people had a choice and were given options? Whereas physicians and other healthcare providers working on the front lines, utilizing their knowledge of epidemiology, pathophysiology, and pharmacology, are often first to identify new, potentially life-saving treatments. Whereas physicians are increasingly being discouraged from engaging in open professional discourse and the exchange of ideas about new and emerging diseases, not only endangering the essence of the medical profession, but more importantly, more tragically, the lives of our patients. That's because Tony Fauci controls the Federal Board of Medical Examiners and threatens the license of every physician who doesn't drink at the altar of Fauci. Whereas thousands of physicians are being prevented from providing treatment to their patients as a result of barriers put up by pharmacies, hospitals, and public health agencies, rendering the vast majority of healthcare providers helpless to protect their patients in the face of disease. Physicians are now advising their patients to simply go home, allowing the virus to replicate and return when their disease worsens, resulting in hundreds of thousands of unnecessary patient deaths due to failure to treat. By the way, in the RFK book, he estimates that there were 500,000 unnecessary deaths due to Tony Fauci's ban on alternative medications that can't be named here because we'll be kicked off.
Can I say one thing, Barbara,
Sure.
about that? We had a show on that on Scrubbing Up, and for people don't know, we've always had the ability to off-label drugs. About 1 in 5 medications in the United States are what we call off-label. So it's an FDA-approved medication, FDA approved, went through all the testing and so forth and so on. And we take that drug and say like for the instance of, I can't use the word, but the eye medicine or the
medicine.
Right, the 2 medicines that are out there, they're FDA approved. So,
Yes.
but they're not FDA approved for corona treatment. But
They work.
They were. Well, and then here's the thing: we were allowed before all of this happened to off-label that stuff.
Right.
I don't know. And do you remember ever in our careers, 30 years, 40 years that we've been practicing, where we were told we cannot off-label a medication? First time, in my opinion.
South Bronx, pneumocystis pneumonia, Bactrim worked. We were told not to use it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
For HIV, 11,000 people died.
Wow.
I was there.
See, that was, and who was running that show?
Tony Fauci.
Yeah, well, history repeats
has
itself. Isn't that,
so much blood on his hands. I
Yeah,
cannot believe this guy
Yeah.
can sleep at night.
What gets me, and I know I don't want to interrupt you, but this thing about, because this is important, people have
Yes.
to understand what has happened to our medical community. Now, the sequential monoclonal antibodies, which were FDA approved, supposedly very safe with women and pregnancy, and it worked. In the beginning, they were all over the place. And what happened was, one of the things that happened is down in Florida, DeSantis
Right.
started giving it prophylactically because the companies came out. There was about eight different medications. And they said you get about 6 to 8 months of immunity. And a lot of people saying, well, what do I need the vaccine? I'll take this. As soon as that happened, they shut it down. The Biden administration took over the distribution. And when that happened,
Wow.
it went right down the tubes. And, you can make that stuff quick. And they never made new stuff for Omicron. Because when Omicron came out, there was only 1 or 2 that would fight it. So how many people passed away because they couldn't get the monoclonal antibodies?
We don't have those figures yet. But
Which is,
when
drives
they-
me crazy.
when they came into the hospital, they were given remdesivir, or called When Death Is Near. And Tony Fauci had used this medication against Ebola in Africa because those people are disposable and they call us racist. Anyway, so they stopped remdesivir after a month because they experienced a 50% mortality. But not to lose hope, he wanted to make money, so he brought it over here and killed Americans here. People who went into the hospital with COVID, who weren't given proper medication and got remdesivir, died.
Yeah, well.
So, whereas this is going on with this thing, whereas this is not medicine, this is not care. These policies may actually constitute crimes against humanity. Now, therefore, it is resolved that the physician-patient relationship must be restored. The very heart of medicine is this relationship which allows physicians to best understand their patients and their illnesses, to formulate treatments that give the best chance for success, while the patient is an active participant in their care. And I will say, in my particular situation, administration is not part of the physician-patient relationship. Resolved that the political intrusion into the practice of medicine and the physician-patient relationship must end. Physicians and all healthcare providers must be free to practice the art and science of medicine without fear of retribution, censorship, slander, or disciplinary action, including possible loss of licensure and hospital privileges, loss of insurance contracts, and interference from government entities and organizations, which further prevent us from caring for patients in need. More than ever, the right and ability to exchange objective scientific findings, which further our understanding of disease, must be protected. Resolved that physicians must defend their right to prescribe treatment, observing the tenet, first do no harm. Physicians shall not be restricted from prescribing safe and effective treatments. These restrictions continue to cause unnecessary sickness and death. The rights of patients, after being fully informed about the risks and benefits of each option, must be restored to receive those treatments. Resolved that we invite physicians of the world and all healthcare providers to join us in this noble cause, and as we endeavor to restore trust, integrity, and professionalism to the practice of medicine. Resolved that we invite the scientists of the world who are skilled in biomedical research and uphold the highest ethical and moral standards to insist on their ability to conduct and publish objective empirical research without fear of reprisal upon their careers, reputations, and livelihoods. Now, isn't this great? 4 years after I lost my privileges for giving patients, women, a choice, we come out with this declaration. You can be sure I'm going to sign it. So it is.
Can I make a comment on that?
I hope you do.
Yeah, I don't want,
Please.
you know, because there's so, that whole thing that is going on here. You know, a lot of this started when Dr. Malone and Dr. McCullough went on, started, I think it was Dr. Malone went on to Joe Rogan. And Joe
Yes.
Rogan's audience is huge, but it's more middle of the road because he's been on the right-sided shows like Steve Bannon's War Room and Steve Crowder, which are really unbelievable people. And they've been talking this for about a year or so. When he went on there, it was like, oh my God, people lost their minds. And people like Neil Young, I'm getting off, Spotify, because Spotify supports Joe Rogan. That's the platform, which cracks me up because Neil Young was such a rebel back in the day. Nobody throttled him down when he was reeling against the Vietnam War.
Yeah?
But now because you know what it is too, that he went over to Apple. They gave him the big money because he sold out. But my point being here is that it's amazing how free speech is being throttled down. And these doctors, these guys are not like wacko in the back barns. These have unbelievable credentials. So maybe, just maybe, you may not agree with him or them, but to censor them, it's called free speech. In this country, it's the First Amendment. And this is very, very dangerous, people. If you're on the Democratic side, the Republican side, left or right, you are going down. There's an old saying too, it'll be too late. When the boot's on your neck, it's going to be too late. And this is just cascading down.
You're right. And what they're doing, like in law schools, conservative people who come to speak are they're shouted down. The future lawyers of this country, you're talking about the First Amendment, the Constitution.
They don't want it anymore.
They don't want it anymore. This is the World Economic Foundation and the World Bank that wants a global system where we will be oppressed forever. We'll own nothing. We'll be happy.
Yes.
We'll be cold in the winter, hot in the summer.
Yes.
We won't have our beloved beef, hamburgers, and meatballs. And you were talking about, like before Joe Rogan, Dr. Peter McCullough, who, by the way, was declared one of the 10 worst physicians by Medscape in 2021. Okay. What did Dr. Peter McCullough do? He testified before Congress about the eye drug. Okay. And his particular regimen for treating the virus.
Mhm.
So Congress listened to him not once, but twice. And guess what? All members of Congress, their families, and their staff are exempt from the vaccine mandate. Every member of Congress, their family, their staff have the eye drug stored in their medicine cabinets because there are rules for thee and not for me.
Right. Well, they had the same thing when they had the Barack Obamacare, except
Right.
for the they weren't, they didn't have to participate in that Congress. They carved themselves out. And because I remember, because I had some friends involved in this, it wasn't just the members of Congress. They extended it to their families.
It's truly amazing. And we do need transparency, and we need to get these people out, and we need to have term limits, and the power and control they wield is incredible. Nancy Pelosi, that corrupt old facelifted person, has such a tight grip on control that she will close the offices of Democrat congressmen who refuse to do what she says. That's why, in reaction to that, no goddamn Republican should vote for any Democrat bill. No Republican, even like Susan Collins, should vote for that abomination of a Supreme Court nominee who doesn't know what a woman is. And we expect to uphold the rights of women with an idiot like that who doesn't know what a woman is, who thinks child pornographers don't need jail sentences, who releases pedophiles with less than the mandatory prison sentence they deserve. And they are going to vote her into the Supreme Court. Not that it's very good right now, because even the people that Trump appointed are jerks and turncoats and politically savvy, because they're afraid of the court being packed. They should all be ashamed of themselves. And as soon as one of their little kids gets attacked by a pedophile, things will change, but not before, because they have protection, unlike us. So,
Well, you got and this is another good point, because you're coming. I think that I talk to my friends who are who are liberal, and one thing I realize, people who are at the extreme left, they're not informed. They're very well, they're uninformed, and they're very scared, which is a dangerous combination. I don't want to say they're cowards, but they're scared. They're scared of everything. I still see people driving around in their car with a mask on. But having said that, if we want to, if you see, the problem is people focus on these little things, not these little things, but one, the Supreme Court, Ukraine. The bigger picture, in my opinion, is that we've been battling this communism, Marxism, this ideal. We don't agree with it. We believe, like you and I, the Bible, the Constitution, the capitalism. But there's a group of people, a large group, not just the politics, but people out there who do not believe in that. They believe that what they're pushing for is the Chinese model, which is no freedom of speech, no freedom of religion, no freedom from fear, which means you got, and what the fourth thing they'll give you, though, is they'll give you freedom from want. But, you're going to have a little, like you said, it'll be cold in winter. You'll get a little house or apartment, maybe some transportation. But as soon as you step out, they'll put a bullet in the back of your head. And that's where we're going. And that's why, so that's the bigger picture. And this other thing, what we're talking about is we all believe in equality of outcome, equality of opportunity. I apologize. Let me say that again. Stop what I just. We're all in favor of equality of opportunity.
That's America.
Not equality of outcome, or this new thing they have now is equity.
Right.
And when we're talking about all this thing, this is the whole thing, equity. Now, I don't know about the Supreme Court justice, but maybe one of the reasons why they're giving lower, sentences and letting people out of jail, or not even putting them in jail, it's this whole thing about equity. Because for some reason, these people, whoever they are, whatever, that we have to, take them and give them it's all, affirmative action on steroids, where you're giving everybody not the opportunity, but you want to try to make everybody equal, which is impossible. And this is going to fail. It failed in Mao's China. It killed 60 million people. Russia, the killing fields in
Cambodia.
Germany. We're going down that same thing. Fascism and communism are very, very close.
Right.
I mean,
you
they
can't
were,
tell the difference.
this bullshit. So in my opinion, this is just an age-old battle, been going on for 100 years. This communism and not communism, and this is what you have. And this is where it's all going right now.
And the biggest danger is to our children. The greatest thing about the pandemic is we found out what they were brainwashing our children with.
Yeah.
That's
Good point.
Now we know that Fauci has poisoned our children's bodies like the teachers are poisoning their minds. The children are our future. Your children are my future. My children are the future as well. And the fact is that now we have the information. The problem is that you can only get the truth on little podcasts like this, because the mainstream media is complicit in the attempted or perhaps successful destruction of America. I can't let her go. This is my service to America, to try and inform people of what's going on. I have to look all over the place to find the truth. If you don't like my version of the truth, go watch CNN. It's a it's just an abomination. Every time I watch 5 minutes of the thing, I have to throw up. But this is my service: information, facts, how medicine ties into politics. And I've been talking about it for a long time because I was victimized early. But I never stopped fighting for my patients, no matter what, because it's a woman's right to choose what's done to her breast. It is not the right of a hospital to do one-size-fits-all medicine. And now we're seeing it with this pandemic. Everything I said, everything I noticed is coming true. And that's why we have to start with taking America back. And we have to start with taking medicine back. And I don't know if these young doctors can think.
No.
I saw a lady in the office this week who had a complication from surgery, and the surgeon said, "Oh, it'll get better." No, it won't. They didn't recognize what the problem was, what the solution was. They had no clue, and they lied to her. And I was heartbroken. And that is the future of American medicine unless we restore proper training and proper education.
I want to make a point here. We're like, if you listen to this podcast, you're ready to jump out the window,
Oh my God.
But here's the thing I want to say. I'm a Christian, and I believe in there's higher powers. And I tell you what, we could still pull this country. This is the greatest country in the world. And not only the greatest now, we don't say we're starting to
of the world.
In the history. What the founding fathers did, they weren't perfect either, but what they proposed, they took 4,000 years of history of human nature, and they made the best thing we could have.
And they used the Bible.
Right. Now, but here's my point: is people out there listening to us, and you could lose it in one generation. Reagan said that. And what we're telling people is, listen, wake up. You got to get out there. We're not saying do anything violent, but you got to go vote. You got to get involved in your local politics. This government, you could still change it. Go on the school boards, get on the Republican Party, whatever you need to do to get involved. But the Constitution is still there. There's still a rule of law in this country. And there's still a tremendous amount of people who believe in the country. You have. I think where what has happened here is the media has been taken over. The colleges, the professors, the
Yes.
guys. When we went to school, the people who were playing pool with the druggies, shooting 10 years to get out of a 4-year college. They're the people who are running the country now, right? It's true, right? You remember in college, and then Hollywood. But look at Hollywood. Look at how these are the people that we emulated, that we listened to. Look how the Oscars. It's just it's degenerated
Oh my God.
into a shit show. It's disgusting. It's these people. This is what they're showing their true colors. This is what they are. These people are no. Listen, I'm not saying they're bad. They're no better than anybody else. For you to sit there and listen to a celebrity and think that individual knows what they're talking about,
and that's just the thing. Information is king. And I found out that before President Diaper came in, 50% of people did not know we were energy independent because the mainstream media suppressed that information. That's why Trump had to talk and tweet, because there was no other way to get information.
Think about what you just said, Barbara. Think about how sophisticated and crazy this country is right now. You have an individual up there. Forget about his politics. He really is too old. He should not be the president of the United States.
Right.
But they sold us that. I mean, they sold whatever. They pushed that. And there's a lot of people who voted for him. I don't know if it was 81 million, but my point is they drank. That's how slick this is. This is, if you really step away, I mean, go, get on a rocket ship with Elon Musk and go to Mars and then look at us and really get a faraway picture. And you start to say to yourself, oh my God, what are we doing? What we still, this is 2022 and we're still dropping bombs on women and children. Forget about who's right or wrong over there. We haven't gotten any better. China is building, nuclear weapons. We're still no better off than we are.
And the only thing that keeps the world safe is a strong America.
Yeah.
Because of our values, our Constitution, our capitalism, our Judeo-Christian tradition, our American dream, which is Camelot, and the courage we have always shown. And that's what is being destroyed. And if we don't have a strong America, the world is lost.
Right.
And so that's why true information is king, and we need to seek it. And too many people are just complacent. They turn on NBC, CBS. They're corrupt. They are bought and paid for by Bill Gates, who CNN got $300 million from him last year. And the purpose of these news stations is not to give you the news. They are propaganda. We don't know. You mentioned the maternity hospital. We don't know if it was a maternity hospital that was bombed. I heard a different story. We don't have the truth. That's why the thought of sending American troops anywhere is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because,
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No. So that's why we do this show, to provide information, to provide honesty and hope. Because, yes, we're working to bring America back.
I think that people, somebody wrote here, Hillsdale College, which is an unbelievable facility. But I think people need to read, Victor Davis Hanson. You can't wait anymore. You have to become knowledgeable. I was just talking to a friend of mine, and he's a very liberal individual, and I still contact him. And he actually was talking about how we could survive a nuclear war.
By hiding under the desk.
He's like, oh no, it's not gonna be that bad. I'm like sitting there going, what? And I said, when's the last time you read a book? He goes, I don't have time for that. He's got a family. I said, but you have time. That's the problem. They have time to watch CNN on the run, and they think that's. And when CNN came out, I remember, wherever you were, even the president of the United States, they put on CNN because they had reporters all over the place. But now it's been so manipulated. And if you go back and look at all of the famous propaganda, especially, with Hitler, was Goebbels. I mean,
a lie told often enough becomes the truth.
Yeah. And we're just trying to tell people, you don't have to listen to us, but you got to get out there and wake up people, because like nobody ever thought we'd have a virus like this. Of course, it was 1918.
Well, they've been Tony Fauci's been planning a pandemic for some time.
And I don't think this is going to. Hopefully, this won't turn into World War III. But World War III is still possible. And I always say this, and Jeremy's going to know what I'm going to say. But I've been saying this for years and years. Einstein said this. Einstein said, "I don't know how World War III is going to be fought, but World War IV is going to be fought with sticks and stones." Which,
Whoa.
yes. So my point being is, we still could go down that road, and hopefully, this is not going to happen. It's a warning, but we have to start thinking differently, and we can't be beating each other up, and we can't be lying to each other. We can't be.
No.
And we have to start. I don't know what to, but we have to be nice. And this is what we're trying to push.
So, yes, we are. And I would like to end with a very personal note. This past Monday, our beloved puppy, 9.5 months old, passed away suddenly. She was with us in the house. We put her in the backyard, and 10 minutes later, when my husband called her, she didn't come, and he found her dead in the backyard. He called me immediately, and he said, "Sophie's dead." And I thought he was, I ran out there. She was gone. I tried CPR to no avail. Because of the situation, and because Sean said you need to do this, we brought her to the hospital for a post-mortem, which in dogs is called a necropsy. The preliminary report, which I received on Thursday, showed something called DCM, dilated cardiomyopathy, which is a very, very rare finding in a dog of this breed. She was a Beauceron. And it causes sudden, irreversible death from cardiopulmonary collapse. So I'd like to read to you a little story that I got from Susan in my office. And here it goes. Our 14-year-old dog, Abby, died last month. The day after she passed away, my 4-year-old daughter, Meredith, was crying and talking about how much she missed Abby. She asked if we could write a letter to God so that when Abby got to heaven, God would recognize her. I told her that I thought we could do so, and she dictated these words. Dear God, will you please, sorry.
That's okay.
Will you please take care of my dog? She died yesterday and is with you in heaven. I miss her very much. I am happy that you let me have her as my dog, even though she got sick. I hope you will play with her. She likes to swim and play with balls. Whoa. I am sending a picture of hers so when you see her, you will know she is my dog. I really miss her. Love, Meredith. We put the letter in an envelope with a picture of Abby and Meredith, addressed it to God in heaven. By the way, this is a picture of Abby and Meredith. Okay. We put our return address on it. Meredith pasted several stamps on the front of the envelope because she said it would take lots of stamps to get the letter all the way to heaven. That afternoon, she dropped it into the letterbox at the post office. A few days later, she asked if God had gotten the letter yet. I told her that I thought he had. Yesterday, there was a package wrapped in gold paper on our front porch, addressed to Meredith in an unfamiliar hand. Meredith opened it. Inside was a book by Mr. Rogers called When a Pet Died. Taped to the inside front cover was a letter we had written to God in its opened envelope. On the opposite page was a picture of Abby and Meredith and this note. Dear Meredith, Abby arrived safely in heaven. Having the picture was a big help, and I recognized her right away. Abby isn't sick anymore. Her spirit is here with me, just like it stays in your heart. Abby loved being your dog. Since we don't need our bodies in heaven, I don't have any pockets to keep your picture in. So I'm sending it back to you in this little book for you to keep and have something to remember Abby by. Thank you for the beautiful letter, and thank your mother for helping you write it and sending it to me. What a wonderful mother you have. I picked her especially for you. I send my blessings every day, and remember that I love you very much. By the way, I'm easy to find. I am wherever there is love. Love God. So I would like to say about my puppy, which was really a puppy I bought for my husband. When she came, my dog, who's the size of a horse, was terrified of her. And I know, she's a little puppy, huge dog. So the puppy went on a campaign to make the dog love her, my dog love her, and she succeeded. And he was in love with her. She used to sleep on top of him, and he didn't say a word. And she got to be quite big. And he is distraught. He looks for her. He can't find her. He can't get himself settled. I am not minimizing my husband's sadness over this. You know, the shrinks who know nothing tell us how long a person has to mourn before they replace their puppy. I don't know the answer, but I know that my dog needs a puppy, and I'm going to get him one so he can be happy again and well taken care of. We don't know how much time we have. I always thank you at the end of the program for spending your time with me. And I tried to make it worth your while because time is our most valuable possession. We don't know how much we have. We don't know how much is left. That's God's decision. And so I am grateful for the time we had with Sophie, and I am grateful for the attention and time you give me. And I hope I help you in every way possible. And I hope you'll tune in when I'm next on the radio. So, because of what happened, make sure you kiss the ones you love, whether they have 2 legs, 4 legs, or feathers, because we don't know how much time we have. Today, there's a reason they call today the present, because it is a gift. Enjoy it. Cherish the ones you love. And so, thank you for listening. Please patronize doctors in private practice like me, like Dr. Katchmar, like Dr. Jasper. You know where to find us. So this is Dr. Barbara Schneider signing off for today. God bless you. Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, and America. Be happy, be free, be Americans, and kiss the ones